Thinking of moving to or getting residency in a new country, one of the first steps you'll need to take is understanding residency. What is residency? This is something we talk about a lot at My Latin Life. Let's get residency in Mexico, let's get residency in Paraguay. But what actually is residency? Whether you're planning a short stay or looking to make a new country your permanent home, knowing the in and outs of residency and residency permits is crucial. In this video, we're going to break it all down for you, covering everything from what residency actually means to the different types of residency permits available and how they can impact your life abroad. So, what is residency? Residency refers to your legal right to live in a country that isn't your own. When you gain residency in another country, you're allowed to live and often work or study there for an extended period of time. It's important to understand that residency is not the same as citizenship. While residents enjoy many of the same rights as citizens, such as access to health care and education, the legal right to live in a particular jurisdiction, they do not often have the right to vote or hold a passport from that country, unless you're an illegal alien in the United States, but that's another story. Residency can be a stepping stone to citizenship, but it doesn't automatically lead to it. Some people choose to remain residents without ever becoming citizens. I know people in Canada, they're American, they've had Canadian permanent residency for 30 years, and they just didn't want to become Canadian because they felt that identity as an American. So that's a possibility too. This is a particularly common choice for people who want to maintain their original citizenship or for those who are only planning to live in the new country for a limited amount of time. Or if there are possibly downsides to having citizenship in a particular country, such as, say, a country with sanctions and so forth. Residency also carries responsibilities. As a resident, you may be required to pay taxes in your new country, abide by its laws, and maintain certain standards, such as not being a burden on the social welfare system. Failing to meet these obligations can result in the loss of residency status. Dubai is famous for this one. It's like if you lose your job, you lose the residency, right? And there are similar things like that in the US as well. So let's get into types of residencies. There are several types of residency permits, each serving different needs and purposes. Understanding these types will help you choose the one that best fits your situation. Let's start with temporary residency. So temporary residency permits allow you to live in a country for a limited period, usually between 1 to 2 years, but it could even be up to, say, 4 years plus. These permits are often renewable and are ideal for those on work assignments, students, digital nomads, or individuals who want to test the waters before making a long-term commitment. Depending on the country, temporary residents might have the right to work, study, and access some public services, but their stay is usually contingent on meeting specific requirements, like maintaining employment or enrollment in an educational institution. Next, we have permanent residency. Permanent residency, or PR, is a step up from temporary residency, or TR. It grants you the right to live in a country indefinitely, it's usually indefinite, depends on the country, without the need for constant renewal of your permit. As a permanent resident, you can usually work and access social services just like a citizen. However, while permanent residents enjoy many of the same rights as citizens, they still cannot vote in national elections or hold a passport of the country. Permanent residency is often seen as a long-term solution for those who wish to live abroad but not necessarily want to become citizens. Also, often permanent residency is part of the path to citizenship, where you have to be a resident for X number of years to get citizenship, and a lot of the residencies, you need to be a permanent resident before you can become a citizen. So let's talk about pathways to citizenship. Some residency permits offer a pathway to citizenship, which is an important consideration for those looking to fully integrate into their new country. Typically, after living in a country for a certain number of years as a permanent resident, you may be eligible to apply for citizenship. This process usually involves proving your knowledge of the language, demonstrating integration into society, and sometimes renouncing your original citizenship, depending the country's laws regarding dual citizenship. Latin America, really all the Americas and Europe, are pretty good about allowing you to have dual citizenship, but in the Middle East and Asia and Africa, those regions are it's pretty common to have to renounce your previous citizenship in order to obtain a new citizenship, right? So it really depends on the country, and this is something you need to think about when you move to a country, when you get residence. Are you working towards citizenship? And if you are working towards citizenship, will you have to renounce, or will you be able to maintain multiple nationalities? So let's talk about how to get a residency permit. Obtaining a residency permit involves several steps, and while the process can vary greatly depending on the country and the type of permit you're applying for, there are some common elements. One is an eligibility check. So the first step is to determine whether you're eligible for the type of residency you're interested in. Eligibility requirements can include proof of income, a job letter, enrollment in an educational institution, or family connections in the country. Some countries have investment residency programs, right? Investor visas, where significant financial investment in the country can qualify you for residency. It's important to thoroughly research the requirements for the specific permit you're applying for. Many countries also have a number of different programs and a number of different ways where you can be eligible for residency. In Latin America, a lot of these countries have 10 different ways that you can get residency. Even Canada and the US have like 10 plus different ways that you can obtain residency. So work with an immigration firm, an immigration lawyer like MyLatinLife to help determine which of the programs is the best fit for you. Next, the application process. Let's talk about that a little bit. So once you've determined your eligibility, the next step is to gather the necessary documentation and submit your application. This can include identity documents such as passports, proof of income, employment contracts, or proof of enrollment in a school or university. Some countries allow you to apply online, while other countries may require you to submit your application in person at a consulate or immigration office. Depending on the country, the process might include an interview or even a medical examination. There are some countries where you apply from your home country, and there are some countries where you apply directly in the country that you're targeting for the residency permit. All depends on the country. Next, let's talk about approval and issuance of a residency visa. So after you've submitted your application, you'll need to wait for it to get processed. Processing times can vary really widely depending on the country and the specific type of permit. In Mexico, it could be less than a month. In Paraguay, maybe it's 1 to 3 months. And in other countries like Costa Rica and Uruguay, it can be around 6 months. So it really depends. If your application is approved, you'll receive your residency permit, which is a document or a card that provides your legal status in the country. It's important to keep this document safe, as you'll need it to access services and prove your right to live in the country. Okay? Sometimes the visa is literally affixed to your passport, like it's in your passport book, and sometimes it's a separate card or piece of paper or documentation, right? So that also depends on the country as well. Now, kind of back to the high-level overview, let's understand kind of why residency is so important. And it's crucial for several reasons. Firstly, it determines your legal rights in the country, including your ability to work, access healthcare, and receive social services. It also impacts your tax obligations and your ability to travel in and out of the country. For example, some residency permits may require you to spend a certain amount of time in the country each year to maintain your status. Pretty much every country has some kind of physical presence requirements, ranging from 1 day every year, 1 day every 2 years on the low end, to 6+ months a year, or even 8+ months a year on the high end. Additionally, understanding the type of residency you have can help you plan your future. If you're on a temporary permit, you'll need to be aware of the renewal process and what's required to transition to permanent residency if that's your goal. If you're aiming for citizenship, understanding the requirements and timeline for that can help you navigate that process more smoothly. Finally, residency can affect your personal and financial planning. For example, permanent residency might be necessary if you want to buy property in some countries, if you want to open bank accounts in some countries, or it might affect your eligibility for local loans and banking services. Understanding these implications will help you make informed decisions about your life abroad. In conclusion, residency is a critical aspect of living abroad, whether you're there temporarily, seeking permanent residency, or working towards citizenship. By understanding the different types of residency permits and the process of obtaining them, you can better navigate your journey and make the most of your new life in a different country. I'd like to note that MyLatinLife, we can help you obtain residency in every single country in Latin America, from Mexico to the Dominican Republic to Panama to Paraguay, Argentina, anywhere in Latin America that you would like to obtain residency, either as a Plan A or a Plan B. We can help you. We can make it happen. We help people of all age groups, whether in your 20s, your 40s, your 60s. Latin America has something to offer everyone, and having residency from Latin America at this point is pretty much a must. So if you'd like to work with us, if you'd like to explore your options, you can check out our Twitter, you can check out our website, or really your best bet is booking a call with us. So there'll be a link in the description where you can book a call with us, and we can determine the best residencies for your situation based on your income, based on your resources, based on how much time per year you want to spend in country, etc. So we'll work with you on that and determine the best residencies for your specific situation. Catch you then.